So hey guys, this is Lenny Coggins, and I'm going to teach you a little bit about Operative Healing. Now, playing on the Jedi Covenant server, not the biggest for PvP, but there are a lot of great PvPers here, and I am definitely not number one on anybody's charts. I could name a handful of healers that came from the server that are still on the server that are better than me, but none of them have how-to videos, so I'm just going to go over my take on Operative Healing. A little bit about me. I've been playing this class since March 2012. I think patch 1.2 came out, and I rolled my first ult, and this was him. He turned into my main for a little while. And that was that. I kind of fell in love with the class at that time. I didn't get into the whole Ilum, buff yourself stuff, but I am a Valor 99 right now. I'm closing in on that Elite Warlord where everybody starts to turn bad. I'm sure you know one or two players yourself that doesn't play too well once they got that Valor 100. Let's see. Where do we start? Alright, well I guess we'll start with gear. I'm going to talk about PvP and PvE. Not so much on PvE, because honestly, I'm spec'd better into my PvP gear, and it's not that much different. The specs are different, but there's subtle differences, so I'm gonna focus on PvP, and I'll give you the differences in PvE to save time. So let's talk about gearing. It's not where I want right now. The new gear came out. I really haven't got the new stuff out, but we're gonna start with crit. Crit right here on this class right now is where I like it. I like my crit 27 to 28%. For a healing class. Reason being is that in your skill tree you're going to have a buff to your bonus healing. That's going to improve your surge rating for heals specifically when you crit. So you're going to be throwing that talent away if you're not critting. Second reason why is for your operative classes, they rely on heal over time, your HOTS. So when those crit, it's pretty awesome, especially when you're spreading those over the entire raid, the entire war zone for low cost. So we want a semi-higher crit. We don't want to get into the diminishing return range, but we want it high enough to where we're activating that bonus healing whenever we can. Generally 27 to 28. Less is fine, but play with your own risk. Surge, right here, your crit multiplier. Now, like I said, you have something in your heal tree that's not going to show here that will buff your surge, basically, for heals only. So you don't want to stack this. This right now is too high for me. I'd rather be sitting somewhere around maybe 70 to 72%. It's like 72% as much. I'm still gearing this guy out since the new patch. So I'm trying to reduce this as much as I can. Plus I kind of fell into a new line of thought that one of my fellow operative healers talked me into. So I'm going to reduce this down. So like I said, don't take everything that you see on paper right now for granted. Let's talk about Alacrity. My favorite stat. This is not buffed enough for me. I'd like to sit at my Alacrity for about 4 pieces, 5 pieces maybe, at about 7%. Why? You ask. Alacrity is such a useless stat, as always has been. The GCD reduction isn't that much. Biggest reason why for an operative healer for Alacrity is for the energy regen. You never want to get caught without energy as a healer. Because when someone jumps on you and you don't have energy, you don't have TA stacks, you're under 70 for your 70% for your energy, you're going to get in trouble really quick. Because you're going to have to pop a couple things that are going to cost you a lot of energy, and you're going to be in trouble. And if you're without your cooldowns, you're going to be in trouble. So you never want to get caught under 70 energy. Alacrity helps with that. You don't cast. Operative healers don't cast as well as a Sork or a Merc, but when you do cast, people will see it, and guess what? Warriors, 8-second interrupt. Most other classes, 12-second interrupt. Whenever you do cast, they're going to be on you for that first one. Whenever you do need it. So, I mean, you want to be able to cast it faster if you can. Mainly for the energy regen buff, though. And the GCD is better. The thing is, your primary heal, your Culto Probe, relies on a global cooldown. So whenever you could speed that global cooldown up, the better. I mean, 7% doesn't sound like much when you're talking about one cooldown for 1 second for one probe, but when you add that up over the period of an entire war zone, an entire raid, 7% is still 7%. So you want to speed that global cooldown up. And it's going to spend more energy, but you're getting the energy buff. So it all works out. More heals, more better, more faster. Obviously we want to minimize our accuracy, and that's that. For the rest of the gearing, I like to use some power. I'm using some cunning right now on my PvE set. I'm sorry, my PvP set. I'm using all power in my PvE set, and that's just because of the gear I'm getting at the time. Once I get more crit out of the gear from gearing out, you'll see I got a lot of 65s, a lot of Conquerors still. But once I start getting some more 67s, they're going to have higher crit, so I'm going to start switching to Power Relics whenever that comes. I'm actually using a little bit of Alacrity in my augments, if you could believe that or not. That's just because I'm a big proponent of Alacrity now. Not stacking it, but getting it to a reasonable percentage, like 6 or 7%, to where you could do more abilities more faster. Yeah. Let's talk about Relics. For PvP, I absolutely must have for any DPS or any healing class is the Serendipitous Assault for PvP. Power, by far, well, it parses the best. You know, you get the best numbers out of a relic that you don't have to think about and procs your power. And the new relic for patch 2.4 is 625 power. That's a huge increase. I think it's 195 power over the old relic, the old Conquer relic. I think it was 410. And so yeah, you absolutely need this relic for almost for you know, every PvE circumstance. I do. So this one is not going anywhere for any time in my future. So I'm going to keep that one. For this one, I'm rocking a defense relic. I'm going to buff it up here soon, and I'll talk to you why. Some people argue to me about this one, but I prefer it because as a healer, you're always going to have people that are going to be jumping on you. Defense doesn't require a shield or any kind of generator, and the ephemeral mending is the other one that you could possibly use. Now, if you were to parse out in a war zone or a raid, you'll see that any of the ephemeral mending ones that I think it grants like some weak heal chance every 20 seconds or 30 seconds or so, it will parse over like less than 1% of your heals. Having more power is much better. So, since that's pretty much a useless relic, I go with the defense because, you know, I can't heal if I'm dead. So I prefer to stay alive so I could heal more people. So I use a defense relic. So that's that. You'll see my expertise is actually a little bit under 2,000, which is the hard cap. Now, if you max out all your expertise and gear out full Conqueror with everything, you're going to come out at 2018. That's 18 over the hard cap. So you're basically throwing 18 points of expertise away. So, I swap out my crystal. I'm using a power crystal in my main hand, and that puts me a little bit under the expertise. I don't think bolster affects it. I don't know, I'll check it in the next war zone, but I'd prefer to be under any kind of hard cap and to let stats benefit from, you know, wherever I'm coming under. So that's what I'm doing there. Now the differences in PvE are nothing. The only thing you got difference is the set bonus, which the PvE set bonus is much better. However, I would not get into theory crafting, swapping out armorings for this and that, unless you're initially gearing your tune. Let's see. The set bonus for PvE is recuperative nanotech buff by 15%. You look at the field medic gear for PvP, shield probe is damage absorbed increased by 10%. That's really not that big of a buff. Doing 15% more heals for one of your best heals is pretty good. But we're not going to swap out set bonuses or anything. Now you see they both share the same 4 set bonus, max energy by 5. Here's the thing with operatives. Their energy regen goes into the tank starting at 70 and even worse under 40. So if you could stay over that 70 mark with an extra 5 energy to start out with, do it. That's great. So shield probe and trying any kind of 2 set from this, 2 set from that just isn't worth it. The extra 5 is a good enough boost to mitigate any kind of theory crafting. So just stick with what you got for PvE and PvP. Relics for PvE. Obviously, I keep my Serendipitous Assault for PvP, and if it's good enough there, I'm going to stick with it for PvE. As of right now, on October 24th, the Relic's still double proc, so I'm going to use 1 Underworld Relic and 1 Oberon Relic. They're going to double proc, so that means more Culta Probes getting more power over time. It's a win-win situation, so more power, more better, right? And I'm obviously going to swap that out for the Defense Relic. When I'm raiding, I'm not going to be taking, smash damage. So, that's that.